Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
He is a voice of reason out there that has been gunned down for daring to be an American, to tell the truth, to believe in free speech, and to believe in this country.
Charlie loves his family dearly. He loves his country dearly.
Please pray for the Kirk family. This is a really devastating thing that happened.
We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot, a great guy from top to bottom. God bless him.
He believed strongly that we could solve a lot of our differences with just a good old-fashioned conversation.
He was shot for speaking the truth. He was shot for speaking his mind. He was shot for defending the Constitution.
John Solomon's reporting on Just the News that he's passed. Yes, is this what I'm hearing? Yes, can I get it here?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
My prayers are for Erica, for her children, for his family.
I pray that his parents would feel that presence of the Lord that only the Lord can fill.
We cannot let all the great things that Charlie Kirk did be wasted because of some act of violence.
He didn't hate people. He didn't even hate liberals. He just hated intolerance. And it is a painful irony that he may have died at the hands of some intolerant person.
He was fighting not just for his own young children, but for all of our children.
When America needed a hero, God sent us a Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk is a casualty of the political war going on in this country. He was gunned down in cold blood. Gunned down in cold blood. And you have to have steely resolve about this.
There's no playbook on how to do a show like tonight, especially when you speak every night 2 hours and then you find yourself speechless. Tonight we confront a moment of profound tragedy, a bright, vibrant life taken far too soon. At approximately 12:20 p.m. Mountain Time today, Charlie Kirk, just 31 years old, was assassinated while speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. It was the kickoff of his American comeback tour, one of his signature Prove Me Wrong debates, where he stood, as he always did, engaging students with courage, conviction, and a passion for ideas. In an instant, a single gunshot silenced a voice that inspired millions. A cowardly act of violence that struck not just a man, but the very heart of our civic life. This was no mere attack. It was an assault on the foundational principle that ideas, not bullets, should settle our disagreements. Charlie Kirk was a warrior for truth, a leading voice in conservative politics, and a champion for a generation of young Americans. He died doing what he does best, standing before a crowd, honorably engaging his foes, and defending his vision for a stronger, freer America. President Donald Trump confirmed his death this afternoon, calling Charlie legendary and urging the nation to pray for his family. Flags across the country will fly at half-staff through Sunday in his memory. But there's no gesture that can capture the weight of this loss. Not for his beautiful family, not for the countless young people he inspired to stand up and fight for the timeless truths that we all know make this nation great. Charlie, by the way, was winning the debate. He was leading the charge to win back our culture. We've seen the advances. And for that, an unspeakable evil took his life. This was not just murder. It was an attack on every student who gathered there for civil discourse, on every champion of freedom, and on every American who strives peacefully to try to save this great nation. A man who, if you knew him and watched him, never raised his voice, who met every challenge with respect and reason, well, he was silenced by a movement and a satanic ideology that answers debate with death. Charlie Kirk was courageous, brilliant, compassionate, and powerfully honest. A strong Christian, he boldly proclaimed the gospel and loved our country deeply. He fought daily on the front lines against the lies and evil seeking to divide us each and every day. He died in battle, and we must honor him for the patriot that he was. We wake up in a different country tomorrow, one marked by this tragedy, but hopefully one that's not defined by it. This is political terrorism, make no mistake about it, and it will not win. Justice here must be swift. Charlie's legacy will endure in every young person he inspired, in every mind he awakened, and in every heart that continues his fight for truth. We will forever remember him, and we will honor him by carrying forward the torch that he lit. Tonight we mourn, tomorrow we fight. For Charlie, for freedom, and for the America that he loved. And like I said, there's no playbook on how to do a show like tonight. We're going to do the best we can. Slick's here, Rick Delgado, Paul Nolan, Aaron and Fran, as always. And we're going to have a bevy of guests to come on and talk about this unspeakable tragedy today that just just shakes you to your core. It's hard. It's hard to even know that we're talking about this tonight. It's still not real to some of us. And what I found myself thinking about today before I welcome the other guys is I said, I only met Charlie, I think, once. And it was before this show was even on Real America's Voice. It was an early CPAC, I think around 2018, 19, something like that. And I thought, I didn't really even know this man, but yet felt to the depths of my soul today with grief that was unexplainable all day. And I think that says probably more about him than anything else. I felt like he was a brother. So, Slick, how are you?
Okay, Big D.
What did you, any thoughts you want to share now before we get to our guests? I don't.
Yeah, I just left a fundraiser for a bunch of young Republicans that are bringing up the local government in Islip and in the county. All these people are 30, 35 years old. They're all devastated. They're beyond devastated. They cannot not even get over what had happened. So, yeah, it was a heavy day, Big D. Very heavy day. Really impacted my wife, too. She was a tremendous fan of Charlie Kirk, which I don't think I ever shared on the show. She was such a big fan, supporter, loved his messaging, loved what he brought to the table. And, boy, it hit my home hard. I was just getting ready to start looking at prepping for the show. And, man, I mean, I just wanted to, shut down for the day. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't even want to make comparisons.
Delgado? Give me your quick thoughts, because I want to get to the guests.
Stunned. Really can't say anything. He didn't have the opportunity or the pleasure of ever meeting Charlie, but like you and probably many others, got to know him through all the video clips that you'd always see him challenging people to the debate, and that's again what this country was built on. It's built on debate and challenging your thoughts and your beliefs with his. And, doing it in a respectful way. What you see here is what you always get when people like this, like a Charlie Kirk, come along, where they can't seem to be beaten in the arena of debate and ideas. People find a way to silence him, and it's sad and it's unfortunate. You feel for his young family. It's a young family. He was a young guy. I had no idea he was only 31.
Yeah,
31.
31.
93.
And again, when you see people that are threatened by words, that's when we end up suffering.
Paul.
You know what? You guys covered most of it. Your opening was outstanding. As a Christian, born again, I take comfort and solace knowing that he is at the right hand of the Father.
Yeah.
But like you, Rick, I come home, my wife just was tears and hugging me. And, to me, he wasn't, this guy was killed, like you guys said. I mean, he was a champion to liberty, to freedom, to God, to good values, to civility. He was shot and killed and assassinated today because he was making such a huge difference. I mean, he was changing the youth of America. And who do the globalists, who do the leftists, who do the people want more than anyone? They want the children. They're the most important part of their diabolical, satanic, demented plan. And, Charlie Kirk was just a beautiful soul, man. And I don't want to go too long, but, when you saw him on Bill Maher and you saw him on debates with PBD with full-blown leftists, he never raised his voice. He always kept his dignity. He listened. His articulation to answer clearly and decently was unrivaled. He is a champion for good decency, and the internet lives forever. Charlie will live forever.
Well said. Aaron, let's go to our who do we have with us? And we're going to have a bunch of people join us. We've got Brian Glenn, I believe, in our Washington, D.C. studio with the great John Solomon. We've got Ben Berkwam. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. And I know what's been a heavy, long day. Ben, Brian, John. John, if you don't mind, I'll come to you first. I guess, and I've seen what you've, most of the day, I've seen all the reporting you've done.
Yeah.
Is there anything new as we come on the air tonight at 11 minutes past 8 o'clock on the East Coast that you have learned or we should know?
Yeah, a couple pieces. They're still trying to figure out this shooter, who he was. He clearly was on a rooftop. He clearly was a long distance away outside the normal security perimeter. He was in a parapet position. He was dressed in the same color as the roof. So it was a man who appeared to have taken some time to think through and plot out this assassination. He was a decent shot. He hit Charlie in the chest of the vest, and then the bullet ricocheted from the vest up into the throat area, and that's what ultimately killed Charlie. There is some component of this that the FBI and authorities are looking at as foreign. That doesn't mean it will turn out to be foreign, but there's something that has led them down asking questions about any foreign involvement, just like they did with Butler. We don't know much what that is yet. We don't know the motive yet. I think we'll know more later tonight. I think there'll be a press conference around 10 or 11 Eastern time with an update, and that'll give us a little more information. I'll just say quickly, I've known Charlie for about a decade. I went to one of his earliest events. There were 200 kids. The last time I went to an event, there was like 10,000. I just couldn't believe in a decade what he did. I was with him 3 weekends ago in Colorado. The great Rob Sig asked me to go out and do something. And it's funny, I was kind of grumping, I don't want to go to Colorado on a weekend. And when I got there, I realized how blessed I was. This is way before I realized that Charlie was going to be taken from us today. Because what he does is he inspires. And his defense of freedom, his passion. And at one point I said to him, hey, Charlie, I'm marveled at how much you moved the Zoomers, the Z generation, in politics. And he said, it's kind of profound. He says, I got to tell you, John, I don't want to put a hole in your balloon, but it's not that profound. It's kind of simple. I just realized that conservatives needed to have someone to stand alongside them to help them so they weren't bullied into expressing their opinions. And that simplicity, that clarity of vision, that joyful warrior, and that stunning intellect, and that towering figure, because he really was tall. We've lost it, but we will not lose the essence of it. And they may have silenced his voice today, but they will never have silenced the movement for freedom that he began.
Yeah, amen to that. Brian Glenn, you, of course, were there on one of the darkest days in the history of this country back in July in Butler, Pennsylvania. So I know you weren't there today out there, but boy, similar sounds and just similar scene when you watched it on TV. Give me your thoughts on what we saw today.
Yeah, I was on a plane coming back from Chicago. Went out there with Attorney General Pam Bondi and RFK Jr. on a story about Chinese manufacturing on vapes. And after the press conference, we got on the plane, and it was shortly after that is when I got a text message from my son that had said Charlie Kirk got shot. And so we went on to further investigate it on social media and some other sources, and it was confirmed. Let me tell you something. This guy changed a generation of kids, youth, our college-age kids. And we were just talking offline before we came on. He had such an elegant way of explaining things to our kids and doing it in a very respectful way. And he would stand in front of the biggest critics. These people would get in front of the microphones and bait him with a bunch of hate. But he never took the bait, John. He never took it. He was respectful for everyone. And he truly will be missed. But I think we can all agree. His voice, Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, everything that he was a part of, the MAGA movement, the Trump agenda, the America First, the Christian movement in this country is not going to stop. Matter of fact, I think it got much bigger today.
Yeah. John, I want to make tonight about Charlie, obviously, but I do want to catch some of the details here for the audience. I just want to go back to what you said. Your belief or your information is that Charlie was wearing a vest and the bullet hit the vest and then ricocheted up into his neck. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, that's what they're investigating. Again, you start with what you think you see on video and you're looking at it. We'll learn more when they get to the forensics. The FBI lab will be there helping local authorities, but that's what I was told from a federal law enforcement officer, that's what happened. So that would mean the shooter was aiming for the body of mass, the center body of mass, and then the bullet just ricocheted up into the throat area. That's what I was told tonight. We'll see if that turns true. It's hard to tell from the video, so we don't know that. We are certain that the shooter was on a rooftop, and it was quite a ways away and was able to hit Charlie. And I think we're going to learn a lot more about that shooter, what motivated him, and if there are other perpetrators in this. We're going to learn more in the next few hours.
Ben Berquam, let me bring you in. As I said to Brian, we've all lived through a lot of violence in this country. Ben, I found myself at some point today thinking about this week with this poor woman in the train in North Carolina. And we talked about this the last couple nights about the actions of our fellow citizens there. And then seeing this today, I found myself at a point today where I said, this country is so sick right now. How do we get through this? When you look at the behavior of our fellow citizens, not only there, but here today with the reaction to this. Give me your thoughts, Ben.
Yeah, similarly to what you expressed, Damon, when we started, there's just still a sense of numbness. I think about a guy like Rush Limbaugh when he died. He was a guy I grew up with, and I think about that impact that he had in my life. That same sense, you think about a guy like Charlie Kirk for this last generation. To John and Brian's point, he changed a generation. And I think about what he was doing today. The very thing that the left hates. Every time I go out to these protests, the left tries to silence their own side. I've seen it all this week. I'm out here in Chicago watching the left attack ICE and protest to protect criminals and protest in this evil soup of all these ideas that are terrible for America that they have accepted. And the irony is that they turn around and tell us that we're the haters and we're the bigots and we're the evil ones. And in reality, everything they stand for today is evil. And you look at a guy like Charlie who said, I'm going to go into that fire. I'm going to go into the universities, and I'm going to go to where they're failing our kids. And the impact that one man had, started off as a kid, became a man, Charlie Kirk, the impact that he had, Paul said it, the enemy, the devil, he comes after our kids. And what was two of his main focuses? Protecting the unborn and stopping the mutilation of our kids and the mental psychosis, the transgender mental illness of our kids. The devil did not like that. The devil does not like that. And the devil that's inside of so many people in America right now wanted to silence that. But I talked about it earlier today. Man, I really had a hard time. I was on the air when that official word came through, and I saw the shot, and as a hunter, it was clearly looked fatal when you saw it. But to have that official word come out, it was hard to get through it. But I think about the lives that Charlie touched and the countless lives. I pray for his family. I think about those kids, having young kids myself. That's my biggest fear. Every weekend I go out, just about every day, I'm in a place where it crosses my mind that my kids may not have a father someday. And it's the worst thought in my mind. And so I look at, and I pray through it and I pray against it. But I look at that now. I look at his kids who will have to live that life. And it breaks my heart. And I look at his wife and I think about my wife. And it breaks my heart. And I found myself, this morning I was kind of stressing about things. There's a lot of stuff going on in life, and I've got to do this, ride along, and I've got to, go on to this next spot and this next spot. And I didn't get much sleep the last few days, and I was getting anxious about life and annoyed about things, little things. And after this happened, it's this, numbness, but it was this weird calm that it's like, man, we waste so much time worrying about things that don't matter. And you think about the things that do matter. And I think about the impact that a guy like Charlie has. It will live forever. And it's not just going to live forever on the internet. It's going to live forever through every one of those seeds that he planted in those young people that will grow into adults that will have their own children, who will have their own children, who will have their own children. And the ideas will transcend the generations. And that to me is, I thank God for Charlie. I thank God for the time that we had him. I wish we had more time with him. I'm shocked just like everybody else. But I thank God for a guy like Charlie. And I just pray that those seeds that were planted become trees across our nation for liberty. And that, to back to your point, Damon, where do we go? I mean, we are in such a divided place right now that we are either going to fall into civil war and this nation is going to crumble just like every other great nation has in the past, or we're going to defeat this evil and this cancer that's in our society. And it really comes down to us. Either we're going to stand up and say, I don't care what names you call me, like Charlie said, I don't care what you do to me, I'm going to continue to stand up for the values that I believe in regardless. And if we have a generation, I think this is a galvanizing moment. Sadly, it's one of the worst. But this is a moment where we say, I'm done. I'm done. You look at what happened in North Carolina, I'm done. You look at what's happening all across our country, I'm done. You hear what Governor Pritzker here in Illinois said today, blaming Trump, I'm done. You blame the guns, I'm done. CNN, MSNBC, I'm done. I'm done with the lies. I'm done with caring what you think about me. I'm going to stand up for the values that will protect this nation, my family, and glorify the God that made me and made me for a purpose. But I do pray for his family. I pray for his family because it's my biggest fear.
Yeah. John, I'll throw this out to all of you, and then I'll let the guys here ask some questions as well. But to Ben's point, the message here is it's dangerous to speak your mind, right? That's the message that some want us to take away from that. And either you kind of take that message and crawl into a corner and shut up, or you do what Charlie would want us to do and kind of find some revigoration and go out there and speak about these things even stronger, right?
Our clarion call for tonight. We can't sit any longer and allow people to get away with the bullyism and the hatred and the intolerance and say, oh, that's just the left. It's time to end it. It's time to call out people like Matthew Dowd for his hateful and stupid comments today.
Yeah.
People don't invite to be killed. They don't. Not for speaking freedom, not for defending America, not for loving your children, your family, your country, your freedom. We have to speak up when a senator says that the founding fathers were wrong, well, because they didn't believe our Creator created us with unalienable rights of freedom. They're wrong. That story should get way more attention. Rob Sigg created this network, and we all work together, and we are a bullhorn, and we do a good job. We got to get the rest of our country moving in the same direction every single time. We got to play whack-a-mole. We no longer can tolerate hatred, division, and we need to stand up for America. We do not need to be ashamed of America. We do not need to renounce our freedom. We do not need to hide our faith. We do not need to fear when we walk outside that some crackpot will take a shot at us. The way we do that is by standing firm. And the World War II generation answered that bell, and they saved freedom for a generation. The men and women that came after 9/11, we're about to celebrate the 24th tomorrow of that extraordinary day where we really got suckered punch. I feel a little bit like 9/11 in a way tonight. But they answered the call. Our generation's call may not be a kinetic war. It may be fighting among our own people to root out those who wish to silence and harm us. And that's why I'm proud to be along this guy and that guy on TV.
Well, real quickly, if I can, I was just telling John, we were whispering just a few minutes ago, I said, this is a time within our party. We have so many people that are so fractured on one side of the party, the other side of the party. We're arguing about percentages and debt ceilings and all this stuff. We're not our enemy. The left, the radical left, the person who shot Charlie Kirk, that's our enemy. So I'm calling for a truce within our own party. Yeah. We have people that fight, that go tooth and nail at one another, like we're the actual enemies in our own party. We need to put those petty grievances aside and focus on defeating the left. And I hope today let's just bury the hatchet. I don't want to name names on right now, but there's people in our party that all they do is attack other Republicans. We need to end that.
I tell a story. I told Brian I was going to tell the story. Now I'm going to tell him it on air because it's my favorite story. I'm going to force you to do it now. I only interviewed Ronald Reagan once, but he told me the story. It was a story about how he came to choose George H.W. Bush, who had been a vitriolic opponent of him in the 1980 primary. And then he picks him. He shocks the world when he picks George Bush. And he described about the importance he united the party to go into the election and defeat Jimmy Carter. And I said, well, what happened? Like, when you sit down with the guy who's been smeared, what do you say to me? They said, oh, I had the perfect message. The morning after I told him I picked him as the vice president, we met for breakfast, and George Bush said to me, Governor, is there any advice you have for me when you go on the trail? And he said, George, you're a military man. I think you're going to understand this one well. If you're ever in a damn foxhole in the future and you pull the pin on a grenade, do not throw it on anyone but the other guys. And I think that was his way of saying, we don't fight each other in a foxhole. The enemy's on the other side. And Ronald Reagan's wisdom still rings true almost 50 years later.
Yeah.
Good point.
A couple of the guys here have some questions too. Delgado?
Yeah. First off, guys, thank you for taking the time and joining us tonight. Let me ask you, and Ben, you kind of alluded to this earlier, you being really out front and center and on the ground for a lot of these things that you do, especially with the border where that's concerned. The three of you, after today, have you kind of sat back and kind of recalibrated, like, maybe I got to rethink, because we just don't know. As Dan Bongino used to say, you got to walk around with your head on a swivel. Are there any things that you're thinking, not that you'd share them, but at least are you recalibrating, like, maybe I should, change some things up, kind of, you know what I mean, in terms of just safety?
Well, it's something I think about, again, almost every day, and I pray about it. Lord, give me the wisdom to know where to go and where not to go, and what to say and what not to say. And there are many times where I'm in a position and it's only God's hand. There's a covering that I've felt that I can only describe as God's hand. God's angel armies going with me. And so I believe that everywhere I go, God leads my steps, and I also believe God has a time, and this life is finite, and so we are called for a certain number of days in this life, and within that time, the most important thing is that we get right with the Lord, and I thank God Charlie was, and I thank God I know where he is tonight, and we'll see him again, and so I go with that perspective, but I also do pray about, is this the place to go? Because not to be stupid, you don't just jump off a cliff and say, God, protect me. You follow his wisdom. And I do think about that. And in particular, as the violence, the rhetoric on the left increases, I get death threats. I don't talk about them, but I get death threats. I consider it. I pray about it. I speak to law enforcement. I wear my vest when I'm in places. I carry my gun as often as I can. Unfortunately, you come to a place like Chicago and you can't. Only the bad guys do. And but it's definitely something, and especially today, I mean, you can't not think about it even more. This is what the enemy wants. They want to kill us. And I hear it when I'm out at a protest multiple times a day. You can't not think about it. But I said it earlier today. There's a picture, and I don't know if the studio has it, but I started my journey after God turned my life around. And actually, I want to preface this real quick. So I was a drug addict, alcoholic, that wasn't sure if I was going to end up in prison or dead. I was addicted to crack at a point in my life almost 10 years ago. And God set me free. He broke my chains. And as soon as he did that, the fear of man, the fear of what I'm walking into, it's not gone. There's a lot of times where I'm still afraid, but God has given, it's this weird feeling like, man, God gave me a second chance at life. I was going towards death, and he gave me new life. And that idea, and also knowing where I'm going, it really empowered me to just say, okay, I'm going to continue walking down this path, but still understanding that, we're not called to be stupid. But when God turned my life around, I was back in Berkeley in 2017. the battles of Berkeley. And it was the first time I went out there with my MAGA hat on. I walked out. Actually, my wife was 8 months pregnant at the time. We had our first daughter, Chloe, who was 6 years old at the time. I dropped them off to go shopping. I said, hey, girls, I'm just going to go, interview some of these people, and I'll call you when I'm ready to get picked up. And 2 or an hour and a half later, I had to call them on somebody else's phone because I had been attacked, and I got attacked by Antifa. They stole my hat. They went running into the crowd. I ended up getting hit over the top of the head with a stick, the side of my ear. And the worst part about it was my daughter had to pick me up and see me with my bloody head. And I went home that weekend and I thought about it, and I prayed about it after getting stitches and going home. And I thought, man, is this even worth it? Is it worth taking the risk with these evil, evil people? Because I knew who they were then. Antifa, these guys, they're evil. They're demons. They're led by demons. They're people that are led by demons. And what I ended up deciding was, if I don't do this, they're going to have to do this. My children and my wife are going to have to do this. And as the husband and the father, the leader of my household, I can't not do this. I can't not stand up for them and for this community and for this nation. And so, no, it doesn't dissuade me at all. If anything, it just shows me how much more we need strong men to stand up in this generation who aren't cowards, who aren't afraid, who aren't cowards like the coward that hid on top of that building while Charlie Kirk engaged this generation to change hearts and minds, and this scumbag took that away. That evil and that cowardice has to be defeated, and it will only be defeated by brave men. And so I think about it, but if anything, it just drives me to say, okay, now we stand up even more, and we're going to defeat this enemy, and this is the enemy that's very, very clear right now.
Amen, Ben. Yeah. Amen. We pray for you too. You are one of those men, all three of you. Paul?
You know, guys, first off, I never had the honor of meeting Charlie, but I was a big fan. So I know he's your friend. So first thing, I'm really sorry for you guys. I'm sorry for your loss, as a friend, on top of him just being a fantastic champion. And, I think of this almost when I first saw it. My first reaction was the old me was this like an act of war. And then I thought, well, what do I know about war? The first casualty of war is the truth. And I started thinking about how the media and how the disinformation campaigns and how the speculation and how the algorithms, echo chambers of these biases, are going to divide people into these corners. I thought it was really great the way you guys said that we have to unite within MAGA, and I think that's so important. How do you guys battle, when you're trying to report on this real journalistic integrity that you guys have? How do you sift through the rubble? Can you guys speak to that at all? Because it's so relentless, the amount of nonsense that we have to cut through. So if you guys could speak to that.
John?
Let's start with Brian. He does it every day in the White House, surrounded by people who are mistruthers. I mean, he does such a great job.
Yeah.
It's incredible, really.
I get I get criticized for being Trump's pro-MAGA reporter in the White House, and I get questioned by a lot of foreign media, and I just tell them I ask questions that the American people have, and I talk about subjects that no one will talk about. And I'll give you a great example. We talked about mail-in ballots, and President Trump put a truth out on that one day, so I followed up on the Oval Office about that, and of course he made a comment about it. So all I'm trying to do is talk about the stuff that people message me on social media. People come up and say, hey, what's the latest on this? That's all I'm trying to do. But I do have to work amongst people, and they are some of the worst of the worst. They could give a rat's ass right now about Charlie Kirk. They really can't. They're shedding no tears. Or the truth. They're shedding zero tears over this. I can assure you. I went to the White House as soon as I landed at Joint Base Andrews. I went straight to the White House. Not one person said hello to me. Not one person said, I'm sorry to hear about your loss, knowing that he was so close to the network. One person did. That's Daniel with OAN. who we have a personal relationship with. He's the only person that said one word to me. So that tells you all you need to know about the legacy media.
Hey, John, I know you have a busy night, and I know you got to go. But can I just ask you, well, number one, did you have a comment there on that?
I love what Brian said, because I think what makes this network so unique is that we're always connected to Real America's Voice, and we want to get the answers that the American people have. Too many journalists today live in an ivory tower, and they only care about what they talk about with each other. And what Brian does, the way he ciphers through all of the comments and to go in and maybe ask a question on behalf of the American people, that's what journalism used to be about. It's probably what Walter Cronkite did when he picked his stories for his network. He was a liberal, but he was kind of neutral as a journalist. I love the fact that this network, which had Charlie Kirk on it, which has the great Brian Glenn, and all of us here tonight. Well, what a great John Solomon. I'm only as good as my next door, so we'll see. But I love the fact that that's what motivates people on this network to go get the questions answered that the American people have, because the media used to do that, and somewhere in the last decade they stopped. They serve themselves, and it's time that we start serving the American people, and we serve them a healthy dose of truth again.
Yeah. And again, John, I want to make this about Charlie, but I do have, just want to be clear for the audience before you have to go. So right now, obviously, we have somebody in custody. You said they're looking into whether there's any foreign interaction or foreign connections. I've heard that they may still be on the lookout for maybe a second person of interest in this case.
Right.
But let me ask you this. Was this a typical, and I don't know if you know this, but was this a typical security setup for Charlie Kirk when he does these? Because when you look at the footage of where he was, the amount of people, the buildings, the roofs, the plateaus, I mean, I know he's got people directly around him, but was this a typical security setup for him?
It was by the interviews I've done this afternoon, because I asked that question. I think there is a couple changes. He's down in a pit area, which would allow an elevated shooter a better shot than normal. Now, if you're in a normal flat crowd, you got to shoot around people or through people, and it gets harder. But this was a scenario where being down in the pit made him a little bit more vulnerable to someone who's elevated on a rooftop looking down. So I think that's one piece of the puzzle that makes me think the shooter was doing some pre-thought about this. But he had a good compliment. I think I know of 9 officers, 3 plainclothes, 6 uniforms around. There was a security perimeter on there. Charlie's apparently wearing a vest. So his team has always been incredibly protective of him and good guys. I used to sit in my office when he'd come in, Brian and I, and the security guys would sit in our office, and they're a lot of fun, man. They're just good guys. But they cared about him. How do you stop a guy being able to shoot from 130 yards away in a parapet? I think you have to stop it by confronting hate, because you're never going to be able to find every security vulnerability in a situation. And I think the mayor and the police chief said, or the governor and police chief said some really smart things today. We got to confront this at where this assassination began, and that is with intolerance and hate.
Yeah, amen.
Well said. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I know you've had a long day. It's a heavy day. I just want to thank you all for the time. Ben, Brian, John, you're all great. We all pray for all of you. Yes, go ahead, Ben, of course.
So to the division point, and then to our audience, both things that Brian brought up. First, to the audience, there's a lot of people out there. The reason that they connect with us is because of the authenticity of this network, and in particular, people like Charlie. I go all over the country, and people would always ask me, who do you work for? What do you work for? I'd say Real America's Voice, and I'd throw out some names for the network, and it was always Charlie Kirk that people said, oh, I love him, especially young people. And we have an audience watching right now that's their heart's broken. And so my prayer is not just for Charlie's family, but for the audience that's watching. I'm thinking of Randy and Laura right now. I love you guys, and all of our audience across America that are just heartbroken right now. We're heartbroken with you, but I truly believe that all of this, God is going to use what the enemy meant for evil for good. And to Brian's point about division, this is one of the things that God's put on my heart for a long time, to avoid division and distraction. And we've done so much more to hurt ourselves over these last several years that the enemy could ever do. We spend so much time fighting amongst ourselves and worrying about who's getting credit, going back to some of Reagan's slogans, who's getting credit, and they're on our side. If this doesn't do anything else but say, stop bitching about things that don't matter and focus on the things that matter and focus on getting rid of the real enemies of God, of family, of country. That's my prayer, is that we come together, stop the division, come together as a country. And again, it's just, I just thank God for Charlie Kirk and for the legacy that he's going to leave behind. And I just pray for him and his family. But again, the entire audience and everyone who's mourning tonight.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Speaking of the media today, and I mean, we'll spend some time on it the rest of the show, but there was a statement put out after the disgraceful that John referenced, Matthew Dowd. There was a statement put out by MSNBC. I mean, it's fairly weak, but it's still a statement. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There's no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. But, you know, John, we see the media and we see the reaction today. We see MSNBC just living on division and hate, saying, oh, it may have been a supporter who was firing off his rifle in joy of celebration or whatever the hell she said. I mean, it's just, there's no statement that can explain away their behavior.
Now, listen, if you watch MSNBC, you do so at your own peril. The peril of truth, peril of emotion, peril of mental health. But, you know, we live in a free country. I'm glad NBC somewhat repudiated Matthew Dowd. It was an obvious thing to repudiate. I think the bigger thing to repudiate is the mindset that gets a reporter thinking that way regularly, because this isn't the first time he said something stupid. We got to attack this sense that if you don't agree with me, you're the enemy. We weren't that way in this country, but somehow the left has made anyone who doesn't think exactly like them the enemy. Will censor you, will deplatform you, will debank you, and if we have to, we'll shoot you. And that is the sentiment we have to conquer, and that's what this network, I think, does a good job getting a start on every day.
Yeah. Now there is, and again, we're not gonna roll with it, but there is the New York Post and Fox News are reporting the name of a person of interest in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And to John's point about being foreign connections, the name certainly would lead you in that direction. And John, I don't know if you've seen this name, but is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, I'm working on, I did know the name a while ago, and we're working on it. When we're 100% sure of the connection, we're going to get it out there for you guys, but take it one step at a time. We want to be careful and smart. Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for the time tonight on what is a tragic day, a tragic night. But as Ben rightly said, you know, hopefully these seeds grow into trees of liberty in Charlie's honor, and we'll remember it and honor it for as long as we can. And the work that all of you do each and every day for this network, we appreciate it. Brian Glenn, John Solomon, Ben Berquam, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, boys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We really appreciate it.
Be safe.
God bless.
It's an honor. Thank you, guys.
All right, live from Studio 6B, 42 past the hour. We blew some of the breaks so that we could spend as much time with the boys as we could on this really devastating night. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back live from Studio 6B. Now there's an update that says FBI Director Kash Patel said the person detained in connection with the Charlie Kirk investigation has been released after being questioned by authorities. So, like John said, you just have to let time do its thing here, because there's people saying they got a name. You have the FBI director that says no. Chat. What's going on in the chat? Sorry, we haven't spent a lot of time in there. Obviously, you understand on a show like tonight.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot too, that person was released. Manhunt continues.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up because it's moving so quick. FBI says suspect they had in custody has now been released.
Yep.
So the assassin appears to still be at large.
Well, this is going to be a challenge for the media, right? And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the mainstream media, because they're always in a rush to be first. Be first. Be first. How about you be right?
We had a bunch of super chat audience guys.
Yeah, we had a couple of LSU
Patriots.
Patriot, thank you very much. Had a couple of nice ones.
I'm sorry, it was hard to read the super chats, but thank you so much.
No, I didn't read anything.
LSU Patriot gave us 20. I think he gave us about
I think he
$50
gave us
so
50,
far.
right?
Yeah. God took Moses before the Israelites entered the promised land. Moses, the nation mourned his death, and the transition of leadership was a moment of vulnerability for them. Charlie was our Moses, and we didn't even know it. Very nice. Well put.
Old guy in Texas.
All right, 47 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night, September 10th. Slick's here, Rick Delgado's here, Paul Nolan's here as well. Obviously, a tough night for everybody involved with this network, a tough night for everybody associated with Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, and quite frankly, everybody in the conservative movement. It should be everybody in the world, because what we've seen today is unexplainable tragedy, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who you watched on this network each and every day, and who had moved a generation of kids to get involved with their country, to want a better country, to want to understand life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, private property rights, individual liberty. What the problems with college were and still are. So he a born advocate for life and just a fighter overall was assassinated today for all of those reasons.
Mm-hmm.
In an event where he was doing what he loved to do, which was to sit there and speak to college students who some agreed and a lot didn't. And he would debate, and that's what it's supposed to be, open debate. Convince me. Why? Make your argument. I'll make mine, you make yours. Let's see where we end up. Is there anything we can agree on? Do we disagree on everything? This is what he loved to do. This is why when you look at what he built over the years and the people now involved, this is why, because he was so effective at it. There's so very few that are effective at it. They can go out there and do what he did. Just sit down, grab a mic, and say, "Let's go." And this is what he continued and always loved to do. And as I said in my opening remarks, I can't ever remember, even when he was faced with some of the more vile humans you could imagine being across from and trying to debate, he would never raise his voice.
Yeah.
I don't think I could think of a tape ever.
No, he personified dignity.
Yeah.
Totally.
And there'll be a time and place to go through all of these other things. It was interesting to hear John talk about the vest, because I had a conversation before we went on air tonight about that exact topic. and looking at one of the videos that was out there, and it looked like that's exactly what happened. But, you see things online, and you just say, well, who knows? What's this? Could be AI. This could be real. This could be fake. But when you looked at it, exactly what it looked like in slow motion. Exactly. You saw the shirt move.
Mm-hmm. The first thing I thought was high-powered rifle. Did you guys feel the same way? Because the power with which it was thrust, and then the way his body jolted, it was hard. It looked to me like, that was as professional as it gets.
I'm getting reports, Fran, that the YouTube stream is dead on Rav. I don't know if you're saying that, but just take a look.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Paul, when I saw it. Obviously, when you saw the horrific close-up one, you just thought, you just said, oh my God, how does he survive that?
Mm-hmm.
And you prayed as hard as you could, obviously.
Yeah.
But also, the professionalism of the hit, and that's what it was, was very clear to pretty much everybody.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear at this point. It's not only a professional hit, but a political one, right?
100%.
Let's face it.
Political terrorism is what it is.
This guy was fighting the battle on their battlefield
and winning.
Right. He was leading the charge, and he was leading it from the flank of the young people, the people that they prey upon. And that's again, they can't have. We've seen these people in the past. They've come. Our history is littered with them, with the MLKs and such, and those types that raise a voice who seem to speak to people and can galvanize them and get them together. And you know what? The powers that be, at some point, and again, you see it happen time and again, and it's sad to say, but unfortunately, evil is real. You don't want to think it. You just want to think, God has a plan, but sometimes that evil gets involved, and unfortunately, we got to see that. And I feel for all those kids on that campus too, because I know one of them who's on that campus. She goes to school there. She wasn't there that day, luckily. Some of her friends were right up near where Charlie was speaking, and they're traumatized. School, I believe, I just got a message. The school's locked down till Monday. And this affects, again, it just doesn't affect, us here, but it affects a wide range of people around the country, in that community, young and old. And it's sad that somebody who just was out there, being positive, welcoming debate. Hey, come up to the microphone. What do you got to say? Some people just don't like that, and it's sad.
Yeah. One of the other debates, I wanted to read this from someone who sometimes I agree with, a lot of times I don't, is Eric Erickson. He's a radio host. But I think he's right on the money here, and you hear this debate a lot today. Oh, it's a problem on both sides, I don't think so. Yes, there have been some right-wing nuts who have committed violence against the left, but this is not a both sides issue. This is about one side. The side that the data says has the most mentally unwell people constantly using the platforms of the press and the politicians to decry their opponents as Nazis, racists, fascists, bigots, and authoritarians out to destroy the country. This is about the worriers on CNN, MSNBC, NPR, etc., who claim that the right is rolling back rights and that Trump is somehow some dictator authoritarian. This is about the Democrat politicians who call for fighting fire with fire. This is about the left-wing activists who have cheered on violence. This is about the left-wing politicians who have championed violence for trans rights, made excuses for violence. This is about those on the left who said tax cuts would get people killed. Net neutrality would get people killed. Medical reform would get people killed. This is about those in the press and the left who even this week falsely said that the Supreme Court had given Trump permission to deport people just based on their ethnicity, which is a total fabrication. There are crazy and violent people everywhere on both sides, but only one side has the mainstream media, the politicians, Hollywood celebrities, and more fueling the madness and poisoning the minds of activists, and that's on the left. Floyd Lee Corgan's, James Hodgkinson's, they were the beginning, and it keeps getting worse. Yes, a crazy guy in Minnesota killed 2 Democrat politicians, but there were 2 assassination attempts on Trump, 2 Israeli embassy workers killed, a CEO was shot, kids in multiple Christian schools murdered. Do we really have to keep a body count for both sides? How about stop convincing progressive activists who already say they're suffering from despair from turning to violence as a way to stop their political opponents? And I think a lot of that I agree with, that it's not a both sides issue.
No,
Clearly,
totally
it's not a both sides issue.
Totally not. We see it. We see it from the left all the time. They're always antagonizing violence. Why? Because they believe that the ends justify the means. They've been convinced of it, right? That this guy's evil. This person's he's Hitler. He's this. He's that. And you know, Damon, you said it plenty of times where they use this verbiage to dehumanize the right. People like us, who, hey, we're just trying to live our lives doing what we hope to do.
All right, hour 2 coming up live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night. Real America's Voice. Come on, what's going
Is everything locking up?
All right, I'm assuming this is it 13 minutes ago. You want to just see if you have sound? What is going on with the internet? Can't get anything to work. How about now? How about now?
I'm filled.
Loud and clear.
As long as it works.
To my great.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, there's definitely news. You want to move on to news right now? It's fine by me.
Yankees did a nice thing tonight. Yeah, they did a moment of silence.
That was nice.
sort of saying person of interest has been released.
Yep.
Shooter is still at large.
Yeah. Can't believe anything you're seeing online right now.
Yeah.
No, you really can't.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. President Trump tonight on Truth Social. About 12, 13 minutes ago, he put that out, and I'm sure the president is sick tonight over this. Obviously, had a very close personal relationship with Charlie Kirk over the years, all the TPUSA events, all the times Trump went and spoke, where probably he didn't have to, given his schedule, but he went there because of his relationship with Charlie Kirk. And he went there because he saw the work Charlie was doing. He saw how influential they were and how much it helped in the election. I thought today a lot, by the way, about when Trump was announced, when we finally knew he was over the finish line. Charlie Kirk was live that night, as were we. And I remember the expression on his face. He cried on air because that long journey of the work he had done to get Trump across the finish line for a second term had been accomplished. And I remembered that today. A very special relationship, and I believe the president did a great job there. Getting through that was 4 minutes. But I bet the president's pretty torn up tonight, as everybody is, obviously. But I'll bet he is too. I mean, people think of him as a hard, no feelings. I bet the president is sick over this tonight, quite frankly.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, aside from their relationship, he faced it down as well. His own attempts. I want to just take a moment to kind of celebrate, Charlie Kirk, because like I said, never met the guy. Wish I had a chance to, him being a part of this network. But I always got a kick out of, and especially when he went over to the UK. I don't know if you guys ever saw any of the stuff he did over at the Oxford Union or Cambridge.
Unbelievable.
Amazing. This guy, if you haven't seen it, search it out. You'll find it on X. You'll find it everywhere. The way he can just rattle off things, it made me think this guy's got one of those, I don't know what it's called, idyllic brains or something, where he can just read something and recall it.
Yeah, his retention skills.
His retention was amazing.
It's outstanding. His recall, outstanding. I saw those at Oxford, and the way he was able to so succinctly put people in their place instantly, and to the chuckle of so much of the crowd, because let's be honest, England is even more sterilized and more propagandized than America, probably.
Right, but these kids at Oxford and at Cambridge, these are the best. That's where you go.
They're super intelligent at learning the wrong thing.
But it was just, I used to just get a kick out of it. It would blow me away that this guy could recall chapter and verse. If somebody tried to quote something from the Bible, he could be like, oh no, you're quoting this and this chapter and this verse. He would correct them. It's like, how does anybody know that much? And this guy was just, I was dumbfounded on how smart this guy was. And it was a pleasure just watching him talk to people and kind of get them, to make his point for him. That was probably some of the best stuff, watching him, especially with these, prove me wrong, and they actually proved themselves wrong.
When I was watching the Oxford, all I kept thinking was Goodwill Hunting. Right. Charlie Kirk is the guy who never went to college.
Yeah.
He this is where Goodwill says, you know what, I can get the exact same education you can from the library down the block. And he starts, telling him you're going to regurgitate Gordon Woods. And, to me, Charlie was just the epitome of anybody could be self-made.
Yep.
He was such an inspiration to young people. There were young people out there who probably saying, hey, Dad, I can make it without college, without the $270,000 debt noose around my neck before I enter the world. I'm a smart guy. I can learn anything. I can work hard. He was an inspiration. Yeah. And to me, the fact that he was so fearless when it came to championing the word of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And Father God, to me, he was just he emboldened people to not be afraid to say it.
And not only that, I think he opened a lot of people's eyes to it, that it's okay to have a faith, to have your faith and to kind of wear it on your sleeve like he did. And again, I would just be mesmerized by he's sitting there saying, I didn't go to college, but I know, I know this, and this. And he could quote it right back to them. And you could see they were kind of stunned that this guy who, didn't go to college, not supposed to be able to do what he's doing and say what he's saying and be as smart as he is, was as smart as he is.
Yeah,
there's very few people like that.
Yeah, I know. Our boy is wicked smart.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And again, I encourage you to search that stuff out, man. If you're kind of only peripheral, I know who he is. I know he's a MAGA guy. I know he does it. A lot of his stuff was not as political as you think. It was more, It was more inspirational. It was more Bible driven. Like I said, I'm stunned of the level that he could recall stuff chapter and verse and correct people as he's doing it. I'm like, what is this?
See, I was thinking, like, how does our school system get like so many people on the left so entrenched in violence? Think about how systematic this has been for how many years. I mean, we're watching this for at least 25 years of just hate America, hate good values, hate Christianity, hate decency. It's sad.
You sent me this, Paul. Let's take a look. This is one of the Charlie doing what Charlie did best. Put this up, Aaron.
Are you a Christian, by any chance?
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner, gave my life to Christ, most important decision I ever made.
So you believe the Bible is real?
Yes, I believe the Bible is true and real. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I could give you the technical answer. There's never been an archaeological discovery that has contradicted the truth of the Bible. And then, of course, the wisdom. There's not a truth of the Bible that if you apply to your life does not improve dramatically. And then finally, we have the most accurate and transparent, historically robust account that one can have of the most important figure ever to live in the history of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. And the resurrection is the pinpoint of my belief that Jesus did rise from the grave so that we may live.
What makes Christian mythology real?
So that's not mythology, but that is theology. If Genesis 1:1 and the resurrection is true, anything in the Bible is possible. You're looking at the greatest miracle. The greatest miracle is creation. And then the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. And I say, how do you know that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, show me another historical piece of a story where so many people willingly died a brutal death for a lie. Every single person around him had everything to lose, and yet they went to the absolute death, from Paul to Peter to the half-brother of James, saying that Jesus is Lord, Jesus rose from the dead. Not to mention, if you were going to fake a story, you would not use female witnesses in the ancient world. In the scriptures, it said that the women were the first one to see Jesus Christ. If you're trying to fake a story, you would never do that.
Yeah.
Wow. On point. Totally on point.
Wow. Yeah. Just amazing. And again, the amazing recall he has of all those technical details, but also to be able to communicate it, effectively
and quickly too.
Right,
boom,
right.
No hesitation,
effectively, quickly, and without making the guy feel like, oh, you're a piece of junk. No, he's just telling him this is what I believe.
Yep,
just phenomenal.
I want to before we get to the break, I want to read you something. Assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same about Donald Trump. In California, activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether losing an election or losing a court case, justifies a maximally violent response. This is the natural outgrowth of left-wing protest culture tolerating violence and mayhem for years on end. The cowardice of local prosecutors and school officials have turned the left into a ticking time bomb. That was April 7th of 2025 on X, written by Charlie Kirk.
It's surreal. Thanks for playing. It really sucks seeing my wife just bawl. Yeah, she's like my wife tries to keep her feed a lot of like animal stuff, rehab stuff. You know, much happier feed than mine. But you know, Charlie Kirk was.
Hey, Aaron. Aaron, Fran, anyone? Can you text me the link if I wanted to send a Zoom thing to Vin to join us for a segment before we leave?
Rap cover.
Thanks.
Like, I'm just so think about how lucky we are to have like guys like him, John Solomon.
John Solomon was fantastic. Ben.
Oh, actually, I may have it.
Fantastic to see. I happened to put it on as soon as I saw it. I just only put it on Rev. It was really great coverage.
I mean, it's just great.
I think I have it, Aaron. Actually.
And sorry about the super chats, guys. Thank you so much for doing it. It was definitely
old guy LSU Patriot. Thank you.
Yeah, man, really appreciate it.
20 seconds.
All right, 17 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night, September 10th. Slick's here, and I told Slick going into this show that we probably weren't going to get too much sports, so I apologize to him again, but I'm glad he's still here, obviously. Delgado's here. Paul Nolan's here. Aaron Fran holding it down. Harry on the highways in the building as well. Pete Hegseth decided to get out and go over today, and he said didn't know what else to do, so he went over and talked to the troops. Here's a little bit of that.
I'd also be remiss if I did not acknowledge why that flag is at half staff. We lost an incredible American today, a dear friend of mine. If you knew him, you love him. His name is Charlie Kirk. Taken by an assassin's bullet. Unfathomable. The only assurance I can take is that I know he is with his Lord and Savior right now. He has heard the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant," as I know many of you will hear. And I didn't quite know what to do after that news with the rest of the day, but I know what felt fitting was to definitely come here and be with all of you. Not media, not anything. Just you don't do this for media. You don't do this for recognition. You do this because you love your countries and your communities in quiet ways that a lot of people don't understand. And so being here with you, with people who give so much, who put their lives at risk, and their families know it, is exactly where I should be and where we should all be. So if you would, bow your head with me and join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen to that.
Lord Jesus, be with Charlie, his family, his kids, his community, and this country. Welcome him into your arms. Comfort them when we don't understand your plan, We know your will be done. We don't always know what that means, but we know it is in your hands. And I ask that you watch over all these men and women here who put their lives on the line. Protect them tonight, tomorrow night, next week, and the months ahead. Lord God, protect them. And we put them under your shield of protection. It is in your Son, Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen.
So a beautiful moment there by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Aaron, if Finn pops in, just let me know. We'll let him get his thoughts in as well. Delgado, I know you have a bunch of clips. I don't know what's appropriate to get into tonight, obviously.
You know what? I really didn't send a lot. I sent a couple of the, of course, the scumbaggery of the left, but we already talked about that. I don't even think I want to give them any air anymore.
Yeah. I'm with you. I didn't want to pay homage to any of those lowlifes.
Despicable.
That's why
some of the early. I mean,
just the early commentary is just so sickening.
Even that apology from MSNBC was just pathetic.
Yeah, I said to John, there's no statement that's gonna right the wrong of the whole damn network and the people on it.
No.
And I just want to again really insist on everybody, if you live in the sewer of social media like some of us are forced to do, there is a lot of stuff out there. I think I take John Solomon's words tonight. I just think let's wait and let the facts dictate where this thing goes. Because here, I'm seeing things. Who's the guy in the white shirt behind them? He's signaling. It's just there's so much stuff, and most of it, of course, is not going to be having anything to really do with it. Let the authorities do what they do, and just keep going to Just the News. That's where you want to go, because at least you know whatever you're getting there is going to be whatever the most accurate information at the time is. So
let's try to avoid those clickbait hunters.
Yeah. Vinnie Mac is with us from West Palm Beach. And Vin, thanks for joining us. I did want to give you a second, obviously, before the show's end, because this is somebody that you've talked about. Not that you didn't know him, but there's somebody that's inspired you. You've talked about him at the warehouse on Friday nights and the work he had done. And so give me your thoughts here tonight.
Well, to say the least, it's been a surreal day. And first, I have to say, what a great job you did with your opening monologue and the interviews with the guys early in the show. That was just magnificent, by the way. You just did a fantastic job. I think you said what all of us are thinking. But when I see people like Charlie and being in West Palm in the studio was heartbreaking, because the people I was with work with him. And I've worked with him for years. The owner of the network, many of the producers, the camera people, all the staff there. I mean, we were in tears for a good part of the day before it was announced he passed, and then after, of course. So you can see the personal effect here, in addition to the professional effect. But I've always admired Charlie, and it's hard not to admire a guy that is so willing to have debate with people who have an adversarial view, sometimes an angry view, sometimes a confrontational view, and do that calmly, let them speak, let them articulate their position, then calmly come back with, well, here's my point of view, and here's why I have that, and have that conversation. And even to his last breath, when he was asked about, some trans thing or whatever, he was open-minded about the dialogue and that conversation. That's a real gift. He was a brilliant guy, clearly. Very, very smart. Understand he had a photographic memory on top of it, which is unbelievable. John Solomon mentioned that. But you got to hold a person like this with the highest regard. It's almost... like even when you read stories about even when Jesus was walking and confronted with all sorts of stuff, he always just had the conversation, told the story, tried to talk through debate and through wisdom. And then Charlie was just very much like that. Just a wonderful, wonderfully smart person. And I have talked about him many times because I kind of idolized how he did it. It's not easy to do what he does when people are pushing your buttons. and saying things are ridiculous. And he had just a way of putting that in context where even the adversary had to smile, and even, sort of laugh or, maybe continue their argument, but not with that spear that they wanted to throw. So he had a gift that I think is a lesson to all of us. We get in these debates. I'm pretty well known for my Facebook debates and all that. I always try to do them and take the high road. And it's because of how I've seen him handle himself. So yeah, I take this a little personally because we lost a great human being. The planet did, we did as a people. But there's a lot of lessons to be learned here through Charlie's life and how he conducted himself. And it's also something for us with Real America's Voice and RAV and how we feel about telling the truth and so on, where I feel like, it's time to step back and double down. It's time to talk more. It's time to work harder. It's time to push further. So that's how I kind of feel about it.
All right, let's take the break. Vin, if you have time, you can stay. If you have to go, we appreciate you joining us for a few moments to give us your thoughts. Live from Studio 6B, 26 past the hour. We're back right after this.
A lot of stuff. So I got a good Sports World reacts to Charlie Kirk shooting death. Fox News too, if you need that.
Okay, that's good. That's a good change of pace.
Fine. Yeah, get into that. The Yankees held a moment of silence, like you mentioned earlier.
All right, well,
that was pretty classy.
Save it for when we get back from break.
Ben gonna hang, or is he gonna?
I don't know. I probably not.
Yeah, I'll hang.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Donald Trump Jr. wrote a really nice piece.
Oh, yeah, he was close with me.
They were friends.
Yeah,
I'll share it on my X feed. Paul_X Nolan, if you want to check it out. No, man. I'm at 55 hours right now. Fast. Trying to reset my
evil ways.
Yeah. Trying to reset my metabolism, gut biome.
You're just in time for the holidays. Before you know it, right?
The good news is my bikini contest isn't until 2037.
Okay.
So I have plenty of time to lean down.
Tomorrow's 9/11. Wow. That's heavy.
Tomorrow is the 24th.
24th anniversary.
24 years.
Man, where did 24 years go? Every time you think of that day, it was like it was last year. It wasn't yesterday. Every time.
Before the show even started.
30 minutes past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night, September 10th. We're reminded of the weight of tomorrow as well. 24 years removed from September 11th, 2001, when the world changed again.
Yeah.
Suffered quite a day that we all remember where we were. Like you Slick just said, every year we come to 9/11, it seems like it was just very recently that it happened. 24 years. I lost my best friend that day, a college roommate. And a lot of people lost their best friend today. And somebody who really made quite an impact on the world. You know, a lot of people thought Charlie Kirk would be president one day.
Yeah.
And Slick, I know the sports world, you haven't had a chance to do much sports, but I know a lot of the sports world tonight has responded to what happened today. What do you have on that?
Well, the sports world reacts to Charlie Kirk shooting death. Prayers for his family. Jackson Thompson of Fox News reporting Charlie Kirk obviously was shot and later died at a speaking event in Utah on Wednesday, prompting emotional reaction from prominent figures across sports. President Donald Trump later announced that Kirk had died in a post on Truth Social. But the sports figures who weighed in after Kirk was initially shot included NFL legend Brett Favre, former Pittsburgh Steelers stars Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, former NFL wide receiver Golden Tate, New York Yankees World Series champion Mark Teixeira, Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, boxers Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia, Auburn basketball coach Bruce Pearl, former Major League Baseball player John Rocker, and sports broadcaster Michelle Tafoya, and Sports Illustrated journalist Albert Breer. Team Tebow put on X, "I'm shocked and devastated to learn about the passing of Charlie Kirk. Above all else, Charlie was a follower of Jesus, a husband and a dad. He was a man of passion, courage, and devoted his life to making an eternal impact. Demi and I are praying for Erica, his two children. I'm at a loss for words. Only things I can think of is tragic." Brett Favre said, "Please keep Charlie Kirk and his family in your prayers." Le'Veon Bell, prayers for Charlie Kirk. Robert Griffin III, Charlie Kirk's shooting was disturbing, disgusting, and wrong. Praying for Charlie's wife, kids, and family. It's okay to disagree with somebody's political views, but celebrating his death makes you a despicable human. No one deserves to be gunned down for their beliefs. Julian Edelman, doesn't matter where you land in the political landscape, violence like this is never acceptable. Mark Teixeira, please join me in praying for Charlie Kirk and his young family. Obviously, Mark Teixeira moving forward with political career now. So just, a lot of Harrison Butker, of course, the great Kansas City Chiefs kicker. Thank you for strong witness of Christ, Charlie Kirk. Thank you for your pursuing of truth and leading your family as a husband and father. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May their soul and their souls of all the faithful departed. So Charlie Kirk, Jake Paul, right, timed in too. Now, Charlie Kirk got shot for telling the truth. That is literally it. What a mentally sick time we are living through. We need God more than ever. Praying for Charlie's family and praying for these evil people to heal. Jake Paul, that was a very profound statement from that young man. And it just goes on and on. Bruce Pearl, of course, Charlie was an optimist. He was leading a revival of conservative Christian values and the happiness it could lead to. Charlie is irreplaceable, a true evangelist. If you disagree with me, step up to the front of the line. Condolences to his family and the young people of this show. So Bruce Pearl, coming in. Michelle Tafoya, clearly it is dangerous to be outspoken conservative in America. Charlie Kirk is a courageous voice who has inspired many and changed many minds. Praying unapologetically. And I preface what she said. Praying unapologetically. Because we heard about prayers, right? Prayers are, who was knocking that down the other day, right? Yeah, a couple of people were saying that prayers aren't so important, and you can't get. What are you going to get with prayer? Who was it? It was the one who used to be the Speaker of the House there years ago. The press secretary, the redhead there. What was her name?
Oh,
circle back.
Jen Psaki.
Yeah, Jen Psaki was saying that, right? Just last week about your prayers. Well, prayers for his family.
You know who I also saw today? I saw Tim Waltz came out with a statement, and I mean, I just Tim Waltz 3 days ago was joking about how he was hoping he would wake up the news and see Trump dead.
Yeah, don't jinx
Today he puts out some statement like anyone's supposed to take it seriously or believe that he gives a damn or that any of them give a damn. Matt Walsh tonight, and Vin, you can tell me what you think of this. He says the entire right has to band together. Enough of this. This is, by the way, echoing what Brian Glenn said tonight. The entire right conservative movement has to band together. Enough of this infighting BS. We are up against demonic forces from the pit of hell. They're killing us in our churches. They tried to kill our president. Now they've killed Charlie, one of our greatest advocates. Put the personal squabbles aside. Now's not the time. This is existential. A fight for our own existence and the existence of our country. Vin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for the entire party. And we have seen the left and the left media walk the walk of division, divisiveness, anger, even violence. We have seen them incite those things. And yet we find ourselves in our party to what was said earlier with Brian Glenn, with dividing ourselves within each other. And here's a great wake-up call to stop doing that. And I completely agree with the comment. It's sickening, isn't it, to hear a guy like Tim Walz, who if Trump would have gotten shot today, like Charlie, what would he have said then when he's kind of hoping and wishing he would be shot? I mean, this is just really sick behavior. It's demonic behavior. It's evil behavior, and we need to band together here to fight it.
Yeah, it's rich coming from those who encourage the violence. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it also from Gavin Newsom just the other day making an open call for violence against the right. It's pervasive on the left, but what is one of the tenets of Marxism? I don't know which number it is. You'd have to ask KDJ about that. Is always accuse the other of what you're actually doing, right? Always accuse your opponent of what you're doing, because that's how they try to get around it. I don't know if anybody read the quote from RFK. Did we cover that?
No.
Earlier, RFK Jr. posted this. Once again, a bullet has silenced the most elegant truth teller of an era. My dear friend Charlie Kirk was our country's relentless and courageous crusader for free speech. We pray for Erica and the children. Charlie is already in paradise with the angels. We ask his prayers for our country.
Well put. Well done.
So that's from RFK Jr.
Javier Milei chimed in on Charlie Kirk. He said the left is always, at all times and places, a violent phenomenon full of hatred. The entire world lost an incredible human being. That was President Milei, Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, the left. Let's face it, they are celebrating this. Let's not kid ourselves.
Oh my God!
Just because we see a few people make statements or post something, the left is pretty much celebrating.
I haven't been over there, but the reports are, and I wouldn't go over there.
Blue sky is absolutely brutal.
That's what the reports are, that the majority, not everyone, but the majority of posts on Blue Sky, whatever that is, I guess that's their X, are celebrating this. And we've seen, if you've been on X, you've seen some of the TikToks that have been out there from people on the left. I mean, I don't know. It's just, as a human being, I just don't know how other human beings can celebrate the assassination of another human being. I don't care who it is or what they believe or what you think of them. Yeah. I just don't get it. And it's all over.
Well, it is a sickness. We've seen it. It is a sickness. And they think they may have, you know what? They're celebrating. They silenced Charlie Kirk today. You didn't silence Charlie Kirk. If anything, you've amplified him.
Without a doubt. You martyred him.
Yeah. Why? Because he was telling the truth. They don't like the truth. They're afraid of the truth. To them, words are violence. Not actual violence. Words are violence. So this is how they respond. Again, they think it's justifiable that we respond with words that we consider violence with actual violence.
So when they are destroyed in the court of public opinion or debate, their entire fabric caves in on them. So their feelings are so hurt. They're so distraught. They can't process. So all they can do is kick and scream like a child.
Yeah, like a
and now you have
child.
You have some child who's so manipulated, and now he's so easily and pliable to be led down a path of killing like this. And I obviously we don't know who did it. We don't know if it was a political hit. We know it was a political hit, but we don't know if it was some kind of an intelligence thing from some black operation who just didn't like how he was thwarting the agenda at a mega national level. So obviously, there's no way for us to speculate right now. But the left is so detached from reality.
I just also want to clear up, because there's a lot of rampant discussion on X. My understanding is that his wife and kids were absolutely not there. Right. You are seeing constant, in an effort, I guess, to get clicks, things on X saying that Charlie Kirk was gunned down in front of his wife and 2 children. That isn't just not true. My understanding is his wife and kids were at home in Arizona.
Yeah.
And that they had to send an officer to the house to let the wife know. So now, Vin, I don't know if you heard John, and again, the time will come where we can start to, tonight's really about Charlie, but there will be a time to question what went down here as far as security and looking at this place, and how, same way we did with Butler, looking at after that saying, well, how could no one be on that roof? There'll be time for that. But John Solomon made broke some interesting news tonight, in that, number one, he believes that Charlie was wearing a bulletproof vest, as he always does at these events, and that the vest got hit and then the bullet ricocheted up to his neck. But he also said that Kash Patel and the FBI, at least right now, his understanding is that they're looking for some kind of, if there may be some kind of foreign connection to what clearly was a very professional, targeted, systematic hit today.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate on all that stuff right now, but I mean, John usually is in the know. And the video, I saw the video really early in this process, like literally maybe 15 minutes after he was shot. And it looked very clearly to me that this was a super professional targeted hit, because you can tell by where he was hit. And now that we know this shooter was on the roof, that this was not amateur hour. This was someone who understood how to use a long-range rifle, a scope.
130 yards.
130 yards. And it was shot in a place where, if you're an assassin, that's a kill shot. And so all of those things do lead to somebody, at least, that was, sophisticated. But one thing I did want to touch on before you guys wrap up the show tonight, it's been, 9/11 happened. We said never forget. And during that time, in the last 20 some odd years between 9/11 and now, somehow we've forgotten. And also somehow our young people have been indoctrinated on college campuses and schools with an entirely different thought process. And
Vin, hold that thought. We got to take the break, and then we'll kick off the last segment with your thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. Live from Studio 6B. We're back right after this.
YouTube Super Chat Patty Jamcat, $4.99. The best way to honor Charlie Kirk is for Americans to get out and vote in 2026 and then begin turning every state red by 2028. Amen to that.
I've heard, Vin, that the shot was a lot longer than 130. I've heard 200. I've heard as much as 500.
Solomon said 130 in our interview with him.
So did he?
That's why I thought it was 200 also.
I saw 200 was what they were.
200 is what I saw.
The problem is we don't know exactly where it came from. The building they suspect it came from is anywhere from 100 to 500 yards away from the spot, depending where he was.
Depending where he was on the building.
Ben Shapiro tonight, talking to our friend Michael Knowles, said that the actual full-scale murder of a 31-year-old superstar like Charlie Kirk for the great crime of saying things on college campuses that people didn't want to hear shows that something needs to change. There have been assassination attempts on presidents. Obviously, Ronald Reagan was shot. There was an attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Both of them lived.
World leaders.
Shapiro said. Kirk's assassination is impossible to process. This is the end of outdoor events in terms of political events. It's over. We saw the President of the United States almost shot in the head during an outdoor public event. We saw Charlie Kirk murdered in front of all of us at an outdoor public event. That's over. Something is deeply, deeply broken in this country for someone like Charlie Kirk to just be assassinated for the great crime of speaking what used to be known as traditional conservative values. I don't believe I'm exaggerating when I'm saying this shakes the foundation of the country. Because if we cannot trust each other to have normal conversations in public about basic issues, about governance and policy and values, how the hell are we supposed to have a country together? It's not possible. That's some of the feelings I had today. I said that when we had the guys on. Part of today, I just felt like, my God.
Someone in the chat said something, about how, 130 is not a great shot, but, I think it's been proven that killing a human being is not exactly easy. So that's unless you're really trained at.
Yeah, 130 is a nothing shot, really.
You don't believe me? I used my 30 odd, and it really isn't that great a shot. But when you think about the scope of what you're doing,
mm-hmm. All right, 13 to the hour live from Studio 6B. Again, I want to thank John Solomon and Brian Glenn and Ben Bergwam. It's been obviously a tremendously hard day. Everybody at Real America's Voice, Parker, who's here in New York, actually, and Harry on the Highway and everybody. They've done an amazing job today on what's a just very, very tough day. For making the show happen tonight. Again, I said at the opening, there's no playbook on how to do a show like tonight. You talk for a living, but then you find yourself speechless. It's hard to figure it out. But I want to thank the audience for sticking with us tonight, as always. And obviously not a typical show, as it probably won't be here until for quite a while. Tomorrow's another day of heavy remembrance, and we'll do that tomorrow. But Vin, I know you had some thoughts there. I cut you off, so we had to hit the break. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Before I say that, I today I was crying today. I didn't know Charlie. I was crying like I had lost a family member, and I really when I look back on that, I really welled up, and we all had a lot of tears in the office. But I don't know him. I just know what he meant to this country, and I felt that sadness personally right then and there. But the point I was trying to make was, when 9/11 happened, we went through a period of years where the left and others hijacked our youth. They indoctrinated them into things. They intimidated them into thinking ways. They created all of these far left progressive thoughts. And Charlie almost single-handedly opened that discussion up for many of the young people that weren't allowed to even talk about this stuff. Didn't feel safe to even talk about it. They were canceled, ostracized. We know the drill. I think we've all been through that as adults. But for young people, it's even harder, right? With all the peer groups and so on. He opened that door, and so 9/11 is a meaningful moment, because between 9/11 and now, this indoctrination was being done at a very, very aggressive level. And Charlie went in and just opened that door for folks who wanted to have the conversation and maybe learn a little something. And he clearly influenced a lot of minds independently, without force, without, pressure, just through discussion. And those minds turned out and voted. And Trump, converted a lot of those into votes, which he did not have. I didn't think he was going to have many of the young vote. It turned out he did really well. And I think a lot of that's because of Charlie, and a lot of it's because of how Charlie went about it. And that's what's so special about this guy. And that's why I got emotional, because I just felt like, you know, I didn't lose a family member. I lost someone so important to this country.
Yeah, well said. And I mean, I didn't say it that well, but I said something similar in hour one, that I found myself today thinking, well, I met this guy one time back in 2019, barely really met him. It just was in the same area as him, kind of. But yeah, I just felt like I lost a brother today. And I was thinking to myself, why is that? And I think it's a lot of the same reasons you just articulated, Vince. So I appreciate what you said.
And just to back that up, and I'll be quick, I think so much of it has to do with the fact that he brought such a pure sensibility and humanity to him that we all felt so connected to him. He spoke for us, the thoughts we had, but we could not articulate in such a succinct manner. He was just so noble in the fight. He never embarrassed us. You never felt like, oh, Charlie Kirk guy. What did he just say there? He was always so on his game, and he carried himself magnificently. So, you know, we were all proud of him. You know, I felt connected to him because we were so proud of the way he handled himself, the way he represented MAGA and our network. You know, like he was like, I would tell people, oh, you have a podcast? That's cute. I mean, well, it's a little more than a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, we got guys like Charlie Kirk. Oh, Charlie Kirk. And, you know, and then we'd say John Solomon, and I'd say Steve Bannon. And people like, so have you met Charlie Kirk? Everyone feels connected to him like a family member got, passed on because he was a special guy.
Tim Tebow tonight says evil is real. There is no doubt. The enemy is hard at work. These last few days, the weight of our evil has been heavy across this nation. But this I know, it will not have the final word. One day, God will make all things right. Until then, we pray. We weep with those who weep, and we keep fighting, knowing the victory has already been won. That from Tim Tebow tonight.
Yep.
Delgado, anything else that you are seeing or want to cover before we wrap it up?
Yes. Excuse me. Got something in my throat here. Former FBI agent Stuart Kaplan has posted. Well, he said this on another network. Said Charlie Kirk's assassination was a professional hit, quote unquote. Very well planned. Excuse me. Very well orchestrated plot that was put into motion days before the individual had a plan of escape. This assassination is indicative of a professional hit. That just,
I mean, I think anybody who kind of watched it, and there's some video out there, obviously, that looks, again, and I can't judge it. I can only judge it by the video. But when you see this kid walking, I guess, into the event or around the area of the event, you can clearly see he says something about this guy's on the roof. You can see this person on the roof, but the place is empty. So again, I don't know if it's empty. Here it is. I don't know if it's empty because it's early on. I don't know if it's empty because he's on the wrong side of the building.
Right.
But if you listen to the audio, maybe we can play it with the audio, Aaron. Oh, we don't have audio. The kid says something like, oh, you think they'd be up there already? Meaning, I think he thought that was probably a protective sniper.
Right, for security
protection,
reasons.
yeah.
Right.
You know, for him to be able to escape that route,
yes,
he had to be aided and abetted across the board. So that, to me, is what tells me hit. I mean, Charlie Kirk had fantastic security, and the Utah Police Department talked about how they worked in conjunction with him. So, again, it's hard to speculate until we, get some real news.
University police chief admits we didn't cover the bases after Charlie Kirk shooting. That just was broke on Fox, I saw. So they're already admitting that they didn't have everything covered, unfortunately.
But you know what? That's an ultra conservative Christian area of the country.
Sure.
Very religious. And they just don't have stuff like this happens there.
But evil travels, Rick.
Yeah, no,
evil
I understand
travels.
that.
Yeah, man.
And unfortunately, the longer that this manhunt goes on, the less confidence I have that we'll actually see justice and get the full story. I mean, look what happened in the attempts on President Trump. How quickly these people get shuffled to the side.
Another thing that felt like a intelligence operation,
right?
Both of them.
This is the other video that is going around that purportedly shows the shooter getting away afterwards, running on top of the roof.
Right.
And like Paul said, we just can take these at face value, but we don't really know. We're going to have to let it play out, like what John said, and Cash and his guys and the locals will do their job. We got about 40 seconds left. Paul, any closing thoughts?
Just prayers to the Rav family. I mean, they lost just a noble champion to the family of Charlie Kirk and all the people who loved them.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Just keep thinking about those kids. I keep thinking about some of those videos of him when he did Fox and Friends and his little daughter there running across. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. And again, I implore you, look up his, if you're not familiar with a lot of his stuff, go find it on social media. You will see just how brilliant this guy was.
Slick.
Incredible young man. Built TPUSA into a small backyard gathering to an $81 million a year organization.
Let's make this a turning point. Let's get together. Let's consolidate.
All right, as always, we salute all of our emergency personnel, everybody that was there today. I'm sure there's untold stories of emergency personnel and people who did great things today there that we'll learn about. Thanks, everybody on the show. Thanks, everybody at Rav. Thanks, John, Ben, Brian Glenn. Our thoughts and prayers, our heavy hearts are with Charlie Kirk's wife and 2 children tonight, and they will be forever. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Have a great night.